Hey guys, welcome to another market review session with us tonight. And straight away, we're going to be looking at some of the currency indexes together. All right, and then we'll be looking at some currency pairs together. All right, so first off, we're going to be looking at DXY, which is the US dollar index. And as of last week, we're expecting us to continue with our bullish move, all right, on DXY, all right, overall being a bullish, all right. But as I said during the last week's market review session, all right, we had this zone that we highlighted, all right. We're looking at for possible rejections, all right, and we got to see something like that happen. I think this was on Tuesday, yes. All right, we got to see that rejection happen, that short retracement happen on DXY. And now, all right, for this week rather, I'll still be expecting us to be overall bullish, all right. But before that, I would love to see a pullback into one of these two POIs that we have marked out here. All right, this is between 105.905 and 105.647. All right, that's the first POI. And the second POI will be 105.218 and 104.672. All right, so I want to be watching out for possible rejections that would happen in those zones. All right, I do not think that it is time, or I do not think that the dollar is going to get weaker. All right, if we do get to see a break below this low and a break below this low, all right, then possibly we should be looking at something like that, but I doubt that happening. All right, that is why, as you can see, I have two scenarios here, all right, which is just for a short sell to buy on DXY, which is going to be my bias. All right, a short sell to a buy on DXY. So I want us to see if we were going to get a rejection rather, either from this first zone or from this second zone. All right, if we get to see that first zone being taken out, then we'll just have a trend line and liquidity sweep like this trend line here. All right, and then we'll be able to come down straight into this zone to now get our rejection from that. In any case, my bias for DXY would be for us to have a sell to buy. All right, so I hope that is clear for DXY. Next up, we'll be looking at the Great British Pound Currency Index, that is BXY. And on BXY, all right, I think as of last week, we were still expecting us to continue overall bearish, all right, which we got to see, all right, and we also got to see that rejection from this zone which we had marked out. All right, I think this was the zone that we marked out using our fib. Let me just quickly confirm that. Yes, so this was the zone that we marked out using our fib. All right, and we got to see that rejection happen quite well from there. All right, and currently I'm still expecting BXY to be bearish overall. All right, but I want to see us have a pullback into this gap. All right, because this zone I marked out, I want us to also be watchful of this zone that I have marked out here. This is around 124.246 and 123.38. So I want us to be watchful of that zone. All right, so it's either we have a rejection from this gap that I have marked out here, all right, or we get just that short push a bit higher into this zone before we get our continuation for the sell. In any of those cases, my bias for BXY would still be overall bearish. All right, so I'll just be expecting something in the form of a short buy to sell, all right, on BXY. So a short buy to continue with the sell on BXY. So I hope that is clear for BXY. All right, next up, we're looking at AXY, which is the Australian Dollar Currency Index. All right, AXY. Give me a minute. All right, so my chart is back up. All right, so for AXY, as you can see, I have a very wide zone here marked out on the 4-hour time frame. And overall, we have been seeing AXY continue in its bearish move. All right, we are still seeing it being bearish. All right, I think as of last week, I was expecting us to somehow take out liquidity from these equal highs here and then go up into this zone, but we didn't get to see that. All right, we just got to see the bearish continuation happen quite seamlessly on AXY. However, for this week, all right, I would love to see us still have a little push. All right, so something similar to what I said for BXY. I would just love to see a similar push. All right, into this zone, all right, before we get to see that drop. All right, so a short buy to sell looks more or less in place on AXY. This little gap here though is looking quite is looking like it's working. All right, it's looking quite efficient, so to speak. So I want us to be watchful. All right, it's very likely that, or there's a possibility rather, that we have a rejection immediately. Like immediately we see markets open. All right, we could just have that rejection from this zone, as we have seen that price is already in this zone towards the downside. So it's either we get something like this, or immediately price just open, or market opens rather, we just get to see price fall directly from that area. All right, so I want us to just have that also at the back of our minds. All right, so that'll be my bias for AXY. Is either we have that short push into the zone, or we're able to get, all right, that immediate rejection from this gap around here. So I hope that is clear for AXY. Now next up, let's look at CXY, which is the Canadian Dollar Currency Index. All right, so for CXY, all right. So for CXY, we've been able to see, let me go up to the daily time frame. All right, I want us to look at something together on the daily time frame. All right, so we've been able to see a break of this trend line. All right, so you can see this trend line with the red. All right, so we've been able to see a break, and if you go down to the 4 hours, it is looking like we are having a break and retest scenario. All right, we've seen price break below the trend line, coming back to the trend line for a retest before we continue bearish. All right, that being said, my overall bias for CXY is bearish. Yes, it's still bearish. All right, but again, as you can see, I have another gap that I have marked out just in case we get to see price being pushed up just a bit. So probably some manipulation into that place before we get to see that drop happen. However, it is very likely that we might not even get that. We might just have price getting rejection and getting its rejection rather from this trend line and going towards the downside and going towards the downside. So I want us to be watchful for that. However, my overall bias, as I said earlier, for CXY would still be bearish. All right, next up, or the last currency pair we'll be looking at, all right, is the JPY. Sorry, the currency indices I'll be looking at is the JPY basket. All right, and as of last week, we finally got to see a proper break, all right, below this support. All right, this previous support here, this previous support was around 16834. All right, we're able to see that break below that support. All right, a proper break below that support finally, and then we got to see that due to some news releases and one or two things happening, all right, we got to see price spike up a lot. All right, which was this impulsive move around here. All right, then we're seeing that currently price is trying to correct all that movement. All right, and we're seeing that price is retracing towards the downside. All right, price is retracing towards the downside. Currently, I'll be expecting a buy to sell on JPY basket. I'll be expecting a buy to sell on JPY basket. All right. For the meantime, the reason why I have this zone marked out, all right, I think this was the zone I marked out using the fib. Let's just confirm that together. Yes, so this was a zone I marked out using the fib, and I just have it marked down as a potential zone for us to have a pushback to, all right, this trend line here. That might not necessarily happen, all right, but I want to be watchful of this zone. If we can see potential moves towards the upside, so potential rejections towards the upside. All right, another good way to look at this, sorry, give me a minute. So another good way to look at this would be for us to have probably price being rejected from this FVG that has been left in place here. So instead of instead of having price come to get like a fourth touch or a fifth touch on this trend line, all right, we'll be able to see something towards this end. All right, so something like this. So I think for now, let's just delete this. All right, let's leave this out of the way. All right, and just expect something closer to this. All right, so we might just have that push up towards the upside, and then either we get that rejection I'm waiting for from this zone. All right, this zone is between 6852 and 6821. So is it that we get that, or we get price come all the way up into this trend line before we get to see our continuation for this sell? In any of those cases, my bias for JPY basket would be for us to have a buy to sell. All right, a short buy to a sell, and I hope that is clear. All right, so quickly we'll be looking at our currency pairs together, and first up we'll be looking at Euro USD. All right, so this is the chart for Euro USD on the 4-hour time frame, and you can see that we are still bearish overall. All right, for the meantime on Euro USD on the 4-hour time frame. And currently for this week, all right, I'm still expecting us to have a rejection or a reaction. I'm watching out for reactions from these two POIs that I have marked out here. All right, this initial POI, which is between 1.07372 and 1.06969. all right, this initial POI is actually an order block that I'm watching out for. And then we have this zone which I marked out, all right, because this was an area where we had a lot of consolidation, all right, and it's very likely that we could see price just clearing liquidity or sweeping liquidity rather, coming up into that zone, and then we get a rejection from there. So in any of those cases, my bias for Euro USD would still be for a buy to sell, so a short buy to a sell. All right, in the eventuality that we do get to see a break out of the zone, this initial zone is between 1.06733 and 1.06183. All right, so in the eventuality that we get to see price break above this zone, then this second zone here would be looking very, very, very viable for us to get the sell rejection or the sell reaction from. All right, so I hope that is clear for Euro USD. My overall bias for this week will be for us to have a buy to sell on Euro USD. All right, next up, let's look at GBP USD. Give me a minute, please. Yes, GBP USD. All right, so where now? All right, so for GBP USD, I have this zone as you can see that I've marked out here. All right, this is let me first talk about that. Yes, so we have 1.24284 and 1.23698. All right, this is the initial zone I have marked out here, and this second zone is 1.22718 and 1.22348. All right, so those are the coordinates for those two zones. And currently we can see that price is actually in this initial zone already, and the rejections or the reactions that I'm having going, as you can see, we had a very impulsive move into that zone. All right, and that tells me, or that is pointing towards the fact that it's very likely that we get to see a break of that zone. So it's one of two things. All right, though my overall bias will still be for us to have a sell eventually on GBP USD, I want to watch out for price breaking, all right, above this zone, all right, coming into this other block before we get to see our sell off. All right, so overall I'm looking for a buy to sell on GBP USD. Now if we do rather get price still holding up this zone, or we get to see price still being rejected properly from this zone, then we could see something towards this end. All right, but I do not necessarily see it as something too plausible. All right, like I said earlier, the candle that we got to see that came into the zone was very impulsive. All right, and we've had a fair number of touches even in that zone already. So I'm just going to be watchful for what would happen when immediately we get to see a market open. All right, so overall my bias on GBP USD will be bearish, but I think I'll be expecting a buy first before we get to see that sell on GBP USD. So I hope that is very clear to us. Next up, we'll be looking at AUD USD. All right, give me a minute, please. AUD USD. All right, so this AUD USD also on the 4-hour time frame. I think last week we were expecting a sell to buy, or I think it was a sell to buy. Yes. This was, yes. So we're expecting a sell to buy, all right, last week, and we got to see that happen quite well on AUD USD. Now for this week, I will still be expecting a similitude of what we've said for even GBP USD and Euro USD. So I'm expecting a buy to sell also on AUD USD, and this zone that I have marked out here looks quite real enough, all right, or quite viable. Or this between 0.64779 and 0.64519. All right, this was the zone I think we were able to mark out using our Fibonacci tool. Yes, so I'm just going to be watching out for that reaction from that zone. All right, in the eventuality that we do get a break above, if we do get a break above this zone, then I am tempted to want to pick out this other block here. All right, so let me just highlight that with a line. All right, so this is what I'm talking about. All right, this is another block here that I am looking at also for a reaction. However, I want to be watchful because, as you can see, immediately after the order block was made, all right, or immediately after the order block, you can see that there was an impulsive candle, all right, and we have a lot of a fair space, a fair value gap rather, in between that space. All right, so I want to watch out for reactions that would happen in that fair value gap. I'm not necessarily expecting price to pull back all the way up into the other block, but eventually if you do get to see that happen, sure, why not? So before entering any of these trades, I want you to make sure that at least you have your own confirmation criteria, all right, before entering the trade. All right, so if you do not get to see price respecting this zone here that I mentioned earlier, then we should be watching out for the other block marked out above. All right, so overall my bias on AUD USD would still be for us to continue bearish, but during this week I'll be looking for a buy to sell on AUD USD. All right, next up we'll look at USD CAD. All right, sorry, give me a minute. All right, so for USD CAD, as you can see, I have about two scenarios here that I'm going to be looking at during the course of this week for USD CAD. Let's go up to the daily time frame. All right, wonderful. So for USD CAD, give me a minute, please. Yes. All right. So for USD CAD, we can see that currently we are still being bearish on USD CAD. We are still going down on USD CAD on a larger scale. All right, but we've seen that we've been able to break above this initial trend line up here. All right, this after the third touch, we've seen that price has finally broken above that trend line. Now let's go down to the 4-hour time frame and look at what we should be expecting. All right, so Now, remember when we were talking about DXY earlier, we're expecting DXY to still be overall bullish. All right, so I'm expecting us to see a similitude of that even on USD card. All right, so during the course of this week, I want to watch out for these two zones again. All right, this is 1.36019 and 1.35588. All right, so that's for the first POI, and my second POI will be between 1.34808 and 1.34315. All right, so I want to watch out for reactions that will happen between those two zones. All right, so if we do get to see price break below this initial zone, then yes, I'll be watching out for what price will do when it gets into this second zone around here. All right, so that being said, overall my bias on USD card would still be bullish, but I'll be expecting right during the course of this week for us to just have a sell to buy movement on USD card. So if I'm going to enter this trade, if I'm going to be looking for a buy from here, I'll make sure I get to see my lower time frame confirmations, all right, before I get to enter that trade. All right, so I hope that is clear for USD card. Overall, we're expecting USD card to continue on the bullish end. All right, on the bullish end, but we are still watching out for a sell to buy movements on USD card. So I hope that is clear. Next up, we'll be looking at GBP JPY. All right, GBP JPY, then we'll look at USD JPY also. All right, so for GBP JPY, I think last week our bias for GBP JPY was a sell to buy, and we got to see that happen quite well. Even though we got to see that sell, like I said, there were a lot of news releases that contributed to this crazy impulsive move that we can see here. All right, so that being said, all right, for GBP JPY, I think we'll be watching out for us to still have a buy to sell movement also on GBP JPY. It was during the course of this week I was able to see that I could have actually caught this trade if I had sorted my fib out earlier, right? And then I'll have just used our fib zone here, and then just entered for the buy. But unfortunately, I missed that very nice entry for that trade. So that being said, anyway, that is just one of those regrets that I get to have. Like, oh, I wish I got that trade. Oh, I wish I was able to see that. But you might not necessarily see all the moves happening, but the ones you see, make sure that you're very 100% sure about them. All right, so for GBP JPY, we've seen that overall we are still bearish. All right, overall we are still bearish. We've been able to break above this trend line that was keeping this trend line resistance here. All right, and currently I'm expecting GBP JPY, all right, to still move up a bit. All right, to still buy up a bit towards this trend line that we can see here. All right, and then we get to see a drop from there. Initially I was planning to mark out some zones, all right, for this, but for the meantime, because of the sort of way I'm expecting some volatility in the market during the course of this week, I'm just going to be watching exactly for a reaction from this trend line. So probably on your own chart, so you can just plot out this trend line, all right, and be able to watch out for what price will do when we get to see price get to that point. All right, so I'll just want to watch out for price to still shoot up a bit, get that fourth touch of the trend line, and then we get to see our rejection towards the downside on GBP JPY. All right, so I hope that is very clear. That being said, if we do get to see price breaking above, all right, so if during the course of the week we get to see price doing something like this, let me delete this and just withdraw this. So if we get to see something like this, then by all means be expecting that price will just continue towards the upside, all right, for us to continue bullish. All right, for us to continue bullish. All right, however, if that trend line holds very much so, then yes, please, let's be expecting that sell off to continue on GBP JPY. So I hope that is clear for GBP JPY. Next up, we'll do USD JPY. All right, so I think for the past couple of weeks now, my mind has just been open one buy position on US. This is not financial advice, all right? So my mind has been like, let me just open one buy position on USD JPY and leave it to just be buying and be buying and be buying, all right? But that's just a joke anyway. For the meantime, I'm still expecting USD JPY to continue bullish, all right? To still continue bullish. I think that was about 2, 3, 4 weeks ago. Also, we had this zone that we marked out. I think it was on the 2-hour time frame or the 4-hour time frame, which was another block that we're still expecting price to gravitate towards, and we're still having that move towards that upside still. All right, so I think for the meantime, all right, for this week I'll still be expecting price to be bullish, right? So we want to still see price coming up into this zone before we get to see rejection towards the downside. Just a short, that would just probably be a short retracement anyway, so something towards this end. All right, so for the meantime anyway, for this week I'll be expecting also have a buy to sell, so to speak, on USD JPY. So if we get to see price finally get into this zone, then by all means watch out for sell moves that would happen from that zone. All right, watch out for whether they be short or long sales, or just watch out for sales that would happen once we get to see price enter that zone. All right, let's see. Finally, all right, for tonight's market review, we'll be looking at gold. All right, gold. Gold. All right. So last week, our market review session, during our market review session, we expected a sell to buy to sell on gold, and we got to see, or we've gotten to see that happen, or that move continue in that manner. All right. So we've gotten to see that sell to buy to sell sort of movement still happening, even on gold right now. We got to see that sell. All right, to buy. All right, on gold, currently I'm expecting price to come up into this zone. All right, this is between 1866.39 and 1847.47. All right, so I want to see price still gravitate towards the upside, all right, into this zone, and then I'll be watching out for possible rejections towards the downside from that zone. All right, but for the meantime, I think we should still be able to see some push up towards the some push towards the upside rather on gold. All right, even into this zone. Let me just highlight this quickly because it is looking viable also. Give me a minute, please. So we have this sort of high that hasn't been broken yet. All right, this is around 1.8. So give me a minute. This is around 1.833.60. So 1.833.60. So I am watching it, all right, and I'm hoping that we're going to see that we're going to see price rather break above that resistance there. All right, if we get to see price break above that resistance, then definitely we'll get to see price get into this zone. All right, if not, we might just have that rejection towards the downside, but I am not really citing that, or I don't really feel like that is something that would happen. All right, because if you go down to the 2-hour time frame, I think you see this. Sorry, give me a minute. Yes, if you go down to the 2-hour time frame, you see that there is this very crazy looking candle that has swept liquidity, all right, from previous candles, and is looking quite viable for us to have a reaction from. All right, so I want to watch for price to actually get into that zone before we get to see rejections again towards the downside. All right, so I hope that is very clear for gold, and with that, we've come to the end of tonight's market review session. All right, so please share this video to your friends. I want you to like this video. I want you to drop a comment if you have any questions, all right, that you want to ask. All right, feel free rather, all right, to drop a comment under this video. All right, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye guys.